Doing really well. We're going to go ahead and get started here with Josh. And our first question is going to come from Marty Sikala. Go ahead with your question, Marty.
Thank you very much, Matt. Hey, Josh. Hope you're doing well. This is your first full-time season in the Cup Series, so I'm curious, what goals you have set coming into the year?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Marty. My first full season, so I'm excited. I'm excited to get to Daytona. My goal is to be consistent, and really we want to rack up as many top 25s as we can. Obviously there's going to be some races where we have to settle for being, 30th to 25th place team. But for us, I think just being consistent, being there, minimizing my mistakes and our mistakes on pit road. I think with that, hopefully some top 25s, some top 20s will come.
Obviously, these super speedway races have been really more aggressive every year, so that big ones really become a question of when. I've asked your two teammates where they want to be, and I think they're planning on hanging out in the back until a chunk of the field gets taken out, and then they move their way up to the field. So are you going to go with them, or where do you want to be to miss the big one?
Yeah, I think the first half, to 3/4 of the race through, we're definitely going to hang back and just play it smart. Hopefully there's enough of us that have a like-minded plan. And hopefully, when we're back there, we don't have one or two knuckleheads try to race each other, because then, we can have the big one back there by us. So if we can just form a line and, some of our small teams and small cars stay, out of the big pack when the big one happens, hopefully we can just kind of drive around that and have a good day, because Daytona 500, I feel, is one of our best shots to have a really good finish, but we need to finish first to have a good finish.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time. Have a great Speed Weeks, Josh.
Thank you, Marty.
Our next question is going to come from Anton Hreskiv. Go ahead with your question, Anton.
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon, good afternoon, Josh. You will make your debut in the Daytona 500 next Sunday. What were your emotions? What were your emotions when you found out that you would drive in the Great American Race as well as full-time for Rick Ware Racing?
Yeah, thank you, Anton. The 500 is obviously our biggest race of the year and something that I grew up watching. Coming from sports car background and slowly making my way into NASCAR, I never really thought the 500 would be an option for me. So it hasn't really sunk in yet. I literally just rushed from our other shop to where we are right now. We're doing some seat pours. So being at the shop and around our guys and seeing our Daytona 500 cars definitely becoming more realistic. But definitely being at the track for the first time and just running the practice laps and the qualifying too, I think that's when it's going to sink in. There's a lot of business obviously behind the scenes of the sport, and everything's been kind of overwhelming up until this point. So hopefully when we're at the track and I strap the helmet on, that's when it kind of sinks in that I am one of 40 drivers in the 500.
Thanks. Wishing you all the best for this season.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Mark Garrow. Go ahead with the question, Mark.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Josh. Thanks for joining us. I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of questions I was talking to Joey about and Cody about. What's it like racing for a team that is trying to, hang on, make the next step up, and, you're facing these Goliaths with team budgets that you guys can only dream of?
Yeah, there's no doubt that it's tough. I ran with Rick Ware Racing. My Cup Series debut was 2017, and that's when Rick made the step up from the Xfinity Series to the Cup Series. So we kind of grew together, myself as a driver and Rick Ware Racing as a whole team and organization. And I've seen firsthand how he's grown from a 1-car team with a little shop to, a 4-car team right now. And just the quality of people we've got this year, even from last year, is a step up, and our cars are a step up. Our engine programs are a step up. So, what is unfortunate is, it's not just adding another sponsor to the stable. You can't expect performance to be better. You have to add, you're talking $5 to $10 million to really get to the next step where we want to be, being a top 25, top 20 team. So it's definitely tough at times. But when you take a step back and just realize you are in the Cup Series and focus on the races you can be competitive at, whether that's the Daytona 500 or the super speedways or the road courses, you put a lot of priority in those races and sell sponsors for those races, big sponsors. So hopefully you can have a good finish. So I'm just blessed to be here.
And what do you think of the criticism that some of the drivers in the back of the pack have gotten? I know in talking to Joey, he's pretty feisty about it. He'd taken his fair share of criticism last year along with Garrett Smithley, or they seem to be frequent targets, let's put it this way, when somebody wanted to say something. Do you guys all kind of band together and kind of are sounding boards for each other, or a shoulder to at least pour out some of this on and fight this together?
Yeah, I mean, that's a
As a
great
group?
question. There's different opinions with different drivers. It's not easy driving for a team with, a fraction of the budget. And I can definitely see the frustration with some of the top teams. There's times where maybe a driver like myself or Joey or Garrett, or even like JJ, who has been at the top, driving one of our cars, we're just kind of holding on, and we're just kind of trying to complete the race, or, we're racing, there's times where we could be racing hard, our guts out for a 25th place finish. And that can be tough when we're the leader coming by us. I always try to show respect to the leaders. And if they're racing hard behind me and I'm racing for 25th at the end of the day, I'd rather just, give up a second or two and let them by. We do, obviously being a small team, we all stick together, so we all try to support each other, but there are different opinions with everything. And I think I'll just keep it at that.
Do you think some of the criticism is unfair sometimes against teams that are, in that fighting for that 25th on back position?
I do. I think there's a lot of drivers who, maybe were elevated to a winning team right away, and they don't understand what the struggles we're going through is. There's some drivers who are driving for big powerhouse teams right now who did start at the bottom. And I feel like those guys definitely understand. And one of those being Matt DiBenedetto, he's one of the most respectful leading drivers out there, who he started at the bottom, he worked his way up. So he understands what drivers like myself are going through. And, I can talk to him, and I try to get opinions from him on what he might want to see from me. Because now that he's gone from my position to, a car that could win races, I like to talk to him and kind of see what he thinks about where we should, give up lap time and what we should do. And, like I said, there's different opinions everywhere, but at the end of the day, we're all on the track together, and that's what's most important.
Thank you. Have a good season.
Thank you, Mark.
Our next question is going to come from Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead with the question, Ashley.
Josh, in looking at your career to date, if you could go back a couple years and give yourself a piece of advice, what would that been?
Probably to never give up. There's been a lot of times where literally you just want to kind of throw the towel in, and whether it's, whether you work incredibly hard and an opportunity doesn't present itself or something like that, definitely just keep on trucking and don't give up, because there's opportunities. You work hard, and sometimes things don't form right away, but after time, I think if you work hard, it'll definitely be achievable.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Zach Albert. Go ahead with the question, Zach.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, Josh, you talked about some of the, small team things that you guys have had to contend with, but I know Rick Ware Racing has kind of billed itself as the biggest little team in motorsports. And there's been some intriguing growth, into, sports cars, and now some IndyCar partnerships that are coming up as well. Has it been an interesting time of growth? Have you felt that vibe at Rick Ware Racing? And do any of those other series kind of intrigue you a little bit too?
Yeah, absolutely. Having my background of sports car racing, obviously, I try to work my way into that 24 hours of Daytona seat. We did have some gentleman drivers in there that were helping fund that deal. So with a driver like myself, all my partners and my sponsorship kind of goes through the NASCAR deal. And when you start pulling away from the funding I have in place for NASCAR, then, you might give away, some races in the NASCAR side of things. So right now, my primary focus is NASCAR. If I could work a deal with a partner who wanted to be on a sports car I think IndyCar is out of the question for me. I think it's a little bit too late for me to go into open wheel, but definitely the sports car stuff intrigues me. We have a Mustang GT4 car sitting outside that I want to try to get my hands on. So hopefully one day I can kind of return to the sports car thing. But with the NASCAR Cup Series having 38 races, it's pretty challenging to really make anything else happen when you're driving full time in the Cup Series.
Understood. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Our next question is going to come from Steven Toronto. Go ahead with your question, Steven.
Josh, last summer you had a stretch of really good races in the Xfinity Series, particularly at Road America, where you were leading laps and racing for the lead. How much props and respect did you earn from your competitors at Road America and then at the Daytona Road Course? And how important is it to have that sort of recognition from your peers when you're still trying to make a name for yourself and don't always have the resources and equipment to run up front like you did?
Yeah, I absolutely think leading laps at Road America and Daytona, back to back on the road courses open up eyes, not just with, team sponsors and fans, but also with other drivers. Talking with guys like Noah Gragson, who I was racing against, guys like that, I think it definitely opens up some more respect because usually they're just lapping you. So when you're racing with them and you show them respect too, I'm not going to go out of my way to push Noah Gragson off the track or something, but when you race them hard, but with respect, I think it definitely opens up more eyes on, even though we are towards the back of the pack sometimes, we are just as good of race car drivers. And I think any one of us in the back probably have a shot to win certain races. So it was cool to be able to shine at those tracks, and hopefully we can do that again this year.
Very cool. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Luis Torres. Go ahead with the question, Luis.
Think about it. So, Josh, I know there's a plethora of road course racing going on. I think if I recall, 7 on the CAP calendar. How excited is it to have that, knowing that you made your Cup debut at Sonoma back in 2017, but also just a fair opportunity to get a great run?
Yeah, I'm excited. Road America is definitely the highest on my priority. That's right there with the Daytona 500, honestly, because many people don't know, but I still live in Wisconsin. I live about an hour away from Road America. So to have the Cup Series and drivers like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, guys like that come to Road America, I can tell you from a fan base, Wisconsin's excited, but I'm excited to be able to go there and compete Saturday in the Xfinity Series and Sunday in the Cup Series. It's going to be really cool. And as far as a small team, it's definitely going to help us in points as well, because there are 7 races and our shots of doing better at those races are a lot higher too. So I'm excited for all the road courses. Circuit of the America is another one where I feel that the driver can kind of outweigh the car, whereas on an oval, the car kind of carries the driver. So I'm excited for all of them. Bristol Dirt, it's not a road course, but that's something that's going to be completely new too. So it's an exciting season.
Are you hoping that Road America becomes an instant success to where it becomes like a new 4th of July tradition, knowing that the 400 miler at Daytona is now the final regular season race?
I am. I mean, I think that race alone I'm excited for, but now you add 4th of July, you get a whole weekend experience for some of those fans up there, and you can stay Monday too. I think is really cool. So hopefully that stays on the calendar on the 4th of July weekend, because I can tell you right now, my sponsors are excited, our fans are excited, teams are excited, I'm excited. So hopefully we can keep that race 4th of July weekend.
Thank you and best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Our next question is going to come from Casey Campbell. Go ahead with the question, Casey.
Thank you, Matt. Hey, Josh, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. So going into, this season, I know you're running full time and you're going to a lot of these places that you've never been to. What's that like for you to go to these places, especially without, you're not going to get practice, you're not going to get qualifying. So what's it going to be like learning some of these tracks that you haven't been to? And what's the most difficult track that you think you're going to, have to deal with, you think?
Well, to be honest, I've been to every single track except for, I think, Nashville right now. So I ran a full season of Xfinity Series in 2018, a handful of races in 2017, 2019 again with RSS Racing. So I've been to, I think, every single track now. But only 1 or 2 starts at most in the Cup Series. So, I might not have a lot of experience there, but at least being there will help with lack of practice. I think the current generation and the downforce package for the Cup car is definitely going to help, because it's no secret that the cars are a little bit easier to drive than like the Xfinity Series cars. So that definitely helps. But Nashville's, like I said, it's a track I've never been to. I've never raced anything on dirt. So Bristol, I've been there, but not obviously on the dirt track. So definitely helps to have experience and laps at some of these tracks, especially tracks like I've been to, 5 or 6 times. But you can always learn, especially a driver like myself, who is still relatively new in the sport, versus a guy like Kevin Harvick, who's been around for, 20 years. So you can always learn. But, to answer your question, I've been to every single track except for Nashville.
All right. Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Tucker White. Go ahead with your question, Tucker.
All right. Josh, as we've seen over the last few seasons, and especially last season, the driver who performs the best over the course of a season doesn't necessarily make the championship round of the playoffs or even win the title. And given how much the playoffs have become more weighted on luck to get to the championship round or even win the title, how are the playoffs a good method of deciding a champion, especially when leagues like IndyCar and Formula One decide their champions via season-long points format?
Well, I think that's a tough question. One thing I'd like to see change is I'd like to see the normal regular season champion, automatically get locked in. I think some people agree with me on that too, but I do like the playoff format. Obviously, I've never been a part of it, so I can't really answer your question too far. From my side of things, I like to see it. You need to be consistent throughout the whole year. And one, going back to when Kyle Busch won, definitely opened up opportunities for him because him missing, not in 2019, whenever he won his last past championship. When he was out with an injury for half the year, he was able to come back, win a race, and break into the championship. And some people don't think that's fair, but I think with our current, format of the sport, I like to see that. And I know obviously Kyle Busch fans too. So I like where we're at right now. I would like to see one change, and that being, the regular season champion automatically locked into the season finale.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, Josh, thank you a lot for taking the time to join us today, and good luck in the 63rd running of the Great American Race. Look forward to seeing you in Daytona.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you.
Take care. As a reminder to everybody, we will have audio